Okay, y'all. So we're not gonna keep waiting. We're gonna let Romeo start. I'll just let people in as we go. Romeo, are you ready? I thought we were about to go on tour. Like, Romeo, are you ready?
All right, can everybody see my screen? Oh, presentation mode.
Yes.
Okay, I'm gonna switch into presentation mode. Okay, so here we go. Everybody can see it says Wildfire, Real Estate Investment Group, Mastermind. Yes,
Yeah, we can see it.
beautiful. Okay. So it's the first $1 trillion affiliate marketing program to create the first wave of billionaires. COVID-19 has the foreclosure moratorium created an unequaled opportunity the world has ever seen. The distressed real estate market cap potential is in the trillions of dollars. So what our mission is to help these motivated sellers, buyers, and renters in this real estate sector. It's quite exciting. So what the industry outlook is like, if you Google what the average price of a house is, it is $374,000 across the United States. So that now the 90-day delinquencies from the reports that I read, and it might be 3 times higher than it was before COVID, but it's around there. The zombie properties are at least twice as much. And zombie properties mean that nobody lives in these properties and they don't know where the seller went. The seller's market with inventory that's limited from people who are selling, that makes it a market for buyers who are paying a premium right now. But if we're buying properties that are off market, and what I specialized in is distressed and foreclosure properties. Now, bank-owned properties, that's at 4 times the amount before COVID, and short sales. There's going to be between 3 and 5 times the amount of short sales that are going to go on. So where the value is buying distressed properties, and that's what I've done in the past very successfully, and I've bought many types of properties. So our $1 trillion product, and this is what's called assets under management. Now, I'm hoping to build a group, and why I call it an affiliate program, it's almost like the travel that we're doing, but it's like an Amway, a Shackley, a Herbalife, a Melaleuca. The only thing I'm switching out is instead of having, a product where it's pills, potions, lotions, or vitamins, what I have is I'm substituting it with now distressed real estate. So the goal is to have a small affiliate marketing, network marketing company that is successful, usually is and accepted as around 1 million people. But let's just say we don't get to 1 million people. Let's just say we have 1,000, 10,000, 100,000, but I have numbers and projections for all of them. And the most important thing to remember is that if we have these many people that are in there, there's going to be an average of 10% that's doing work at any given time. So what does that mean? That means, okay, so if we have 10,000 members, that means 1,000 members will be bringing real estate deals in. Now, if the average house, and I have it in 3 different locations, 375 is what the houses are worth around the country on average. So 250, 125. Now, this is if we're picking up houses that are below average, and I didn't use the other side of it, which was the houses that cost more than this. But we're just using houses that range between 125 to 375,000. So if 1,000 members, if there's 10,000 of us in the group, and 1,000 members are out there working at any given time, that means we're going to buy 1,000 properties in that year at 125,000. 1,000 times 125,000 is $125 million worth of property. If we pick up properties that are 250, it's $250,000. And then if we're looking at the average, not going above it, it's 375 million if 1,000 people bring a real estate deal in. If we have 100,000 members and only 10,000 members are now bringing real estate deals in, now that 10,000 people will bring in $1.25 billion worth of real estate on the low side. On the medium, we're talking 2.5 billion, and on the high side, 3.75 billion. If I get the company to 1 million people, where my dream has always been, and 100,000 people at 10% are working, and 10% could be doing one of 2 things. These numbers could be if they're picking up 1 house a year and bringing it into the system. Now, the system, since you understand the trust, now we're removing the property taxes and we're protecting the property. So we're doing a couple different things now to create and bring in higher profits for the real estate deals. So at 100,000 people, we'll bring in 12.5. Now, remember, this could be, if they bring in one deal a year, it's 12.5 billion a year on the low side. But if that 10% are the people who are doing one deal a month, we're talking, this is 12.5 billion a month on the low side. That would be 144 billion on the high side after 12 months. So if we get to 1 million or 10 million people, that's where we're hitting the numbers of the 100 billion and the 1.25 trillion at 10 million people coming in and bring business in, then we can hit those numbers. And if you looked at companies like Amway, Herbalife, Melaleuca, Quorum, Mona V, some of them have upwards of up to 50 million members inside their organizations. All we want is like 1 million people buying property, 1 million across the country, and it could be worldwide as we get bigger, but that will then bring in 1 million properties under management, under assets for us in the company. Now imagine being at the forefront of buying 1 million properties. So what are the services that we're going to have? Our services are real estate investing. We're going to have credit repair to get your personal credit repair to enable you to qualify to personally guarantee for business loans and trust credit. Then we have, of course, the authorized user with authorized user trade lines, and the availability, I do believe, of primary trade lines is what I'll be able to bring on board. I have a new vendor that I have to test out. That is, I'm working with the trusts. So I have signed a non-disclosure with them for that, because, and I'll explain it to everybody who jumps in a little bit further, but there's a little bit higher level to the trusts because there's other asset accounts that you can connect to with the government. And how I'm working with this is I'm working with someone who is working with the United States Treasury. So that's how this is all coming through, and it's bulletproof. So credit score boost, business lines of credit. Now, if we're able to achieve $10,000 to $500,000 per corporation, because, you know, let's just say someone's credit is not that great and they apply for credit and they get $2,000, $3,000, $5,000 lines. Hey, that could be 10,000 per corporation, but some of these places you can get up to $500,000 with, you know, American Express, the charge cards, and other MasterCard and Visas at 0% interest cards that you can get. And like Hakeem said, you could ratchet it up to like $1 million in 6 months to 9 months. So getting business lines of credit and then getting trust lines of credit so you can access those lines of credit for real estate investing. Done for you programs. So we're going to create win-win situations. So exactly what I've been taught in this mentorship is what we're going to then be moving on with the other parts of the mentorship, because we'll have large groups of people that will be able to focus on projects. And that's what will make this fun. That will make it like we can go after multiple government contracts. We can go after, you know, having a trucking business, having Turo businesses, because we're going to have access to people who now we're going to do exactly what he said, open up to, I'll explain it, 10 corporations and get credit for each one. And then multiple streams of income. So as we go along, it should explain it a little bit more. So what we want to do with everybody is every member that comes in should have excellent credit. So 750, 850 credit scores. They should be able to start a credit repair business with us. So getting credit fixer and then being able to offer credit fixer on the business side. So anyone that comes in, if they have bad credit, we can help them fix their credit immediately. Then within the group, like do like a trade line boost program within the group. So if you already have good credit, if you have authorized user trade lines, we may not, you know, be charging people necessarily, maybe a small fee, but if you're recruiting that person, you want that person to be able to have good credit so we can get access to that capital so we can invest in foreclosure or auction or bankruptcy real estate. And then also you're going to be able to, once your credit is fixed, sell your own trade lines and then get other people involved. So beyond who the group that we're going to help everybody get their 750, 850, then once again, you could now use your credit and then we can broker out or pawn your credit out to other people and you could sell your own trade lines. Block hedge fund. So business lines of credit hedge fund. One of the mentors I went to, his name was Sal Buscemi. With Sal, he runs a $50 million hedge fund, and he used to be with Goldman Sachs. So I learned from him at Goldman Sachs. I went to one of his boot camps on how to raise a hedge fund. So that's why a business line of credit hedge fund, we open 10 corporations and get the funding from 10,000 to 500,000 in business lines of credit per corporation. And then what we're going to do is we're going to pool that money. So now if they had 10 corporations and the minimum they got was 10,000, then we're going to have 100,000. But if they got 500,000 because their credit was so good in business lines of credit, but we did 10 corporations, now we have access to 5 million. So from 100,000 to 5 million business lines of credit with 100 people on the team and your team members, and that's a small group, 100 people, and then we could have access to 10 million to 500 million dollars to then move forward with. And I'm going to show you how we ratchet that up. Then there's the trust credit hedge fund. So we can do the same thing with the trust credit as we did with the business lines of credit. So if the business lines of credit can give us access to almost $500 million with 100 people, then the trust credit with the same token can get us access to 500 million. So if you add trust credit and business lines of credit, we'd have access with the 100 right people to $1 billion in spending power in total. So now we can buy these assets at an extreme discount. And then what we'll also be able to do is become private bankers. So you'll be able to go out there and help refinance almost anything with the type of capital that we have. And then we'll be able to then take on those interest, those payments, and those loans, and then create guaranteed revenues that'll come in for the organization. So here's what we're looking at. It's a 14-stream revenue model. It's the earned income, your own personal production, where what you do and the people who you bring in. Then there's going to be a profit income of buying and selling the properties. There's going to be an interest income of lending the money, residual income for the overrides of bringing a team on board, the dividend income of you owning stock. Imagine if you were part of Tesla, and as Tesla grew, then you owned a piece of the stock as you were going along because of what you did and how you did it and what you were awarded. That could be extremely valuable. And that just alone made millionaires for people with Tesla stock. Passive, done for you cash flows. Active, doing real estate, government contracts, trucking, Toro, crypto, NFTs, stocks. We're going to be able to get into multiple different businesses, and then we're going to be able to split in multiple different teams within it that are going to divide and then specialize in those areas so we can get really good at what people want to do. And they're going to be able to get in where they fit in, and that's going to be the fun part of this system. Rental income from all the Airbnbs, or once again, like Hakeem said, the government contracts that will have come through where now they could rent the room and you can do rent it to the government for $2,000 to $4,000 a room. We fill up a 4-bedroom. We're making like $8,000 to $10,000 in that house just from a government contract, which is going to be 10 times better than Airbnb, which I completely agree with you, Hakeem. Capital gains, assets increasing in value. And remember, with this special type of trust, not only is it going to increase in value, but we're not going to have any capital gains taxes or property taxes, which is going to allow us to build wealth even faster. Royalty, licensed products or services. As we go along, people are going to come up with products and services. It could be books, ebooks, it could be anything that they determine. Well, as a group, if it works for us, we'll roll it out to the group first, and then we can roll it out to the rest of the world, and we can license it, because it might be some software that you come up with or something simple that simplifies people's lives. If it works with us and we have the buying power of 1 million people, then we can then once again roll it out to the rest of the world. Then there's going to be a bonus pool, so net volume payouts. There's going to be an infinity pool with leadership rewards. And then we're also, with all the corporations that you do own and open, the goal is to get them to at least $1 million to $100 million in business lines of credit. And when you have the trust credit, the same thing. Your parachute out of this in retirement would be another $1 million to $100 million in trust lines of credit. That's going to give you asset protection and estate planning. Moving into the sales forecast, if we had 1,000 members and they brought in properties at 125, 250, or 375, respectively, they're going to bring in 1.25 billion, 2.5, or 3.75 billion. Let's just say the cash flow off of these from rentals and bringing things in, which should be higher, but let's just call it 10%, is at 125 million on something like this. Even on the overrides, if you get 1% of 1%, this is just a minute amount, you'd still be making on an override 12,000, 25,000, or 37.5. Now, those same houses, as we build members, 10,000 members, now it's 125, 250, or 375 in residual income, just off of the revenues coming in, and most likely just rents. As we build members to 100,000 members and we're buying properties like this, now your net profits go 1.25, 2.5, 375. We get to our million members. Now you're making 12, 25, or 37 million. And then if I get to the 10 million or become the largest multi-level marketing company in the United States, if not the world, then you're looking at net profits of 125 million, 250 million, and 375 million respectively each year as one of the 14 ways to drive in assets and revenue. So the buying power of 1 million people. Why do we want to have that? Because it's the tipping point. Now, with 1 million people, we'll be able to do everything. We'll own 1 million properties. So everything from the properties will be bought by us. So residential, commercial. So it'll be Wildfire appliances. It'll be Wildfire forks. It'll be Wildfire furniture. It'll be hardware from our group. If there's anything like contracting to do, we'll have contracting companies that will be set up. So we service and in-house everything ourselves. So we have the lowest price and we make the highest profits. E-commerce, we create our own MasterCard and Visa. We create our own payment processing companies. So everything we do, it's almost like what I would say what the Jewish people have done is they then create successful businesses and then they buy amongst themselves. So by doing that, you could like, let's say, create an ebook. Let's say your ebook is your journey to, how you made $1 million or 10,000, who cares? But imagine if 1 million people bought your ebook at 10 bucks, then in your account, you just made $10 million off of writing a simple ebook. This is why it's so important for you to understand the buying power of 1 million people. Now, if we have 1 million houses, then it's the buying power of 1 million houses, 1 million washing machines, 1 million blenders, everything that the house could need, cabinets, appliances, beds, pictures, TVs should be manufactured by us, for us, and then giving the people an e-commerce opportunity to sell those high quality products in an e-commerce outside facing store. So not only are we going to be able to get the products for ourselves, but then they're going to be high quality products that they can retail out like their own Amazon and their own Shopify or their own store, so they can make another net revenue stream. Then we're going to have access on 1 million properties to government contracts on supplying that, because there's got to be contracts for what we're doing. And it could be like in housing for the government. Solar energy, we should be able to build our own electric cars, have our own cell phone network, have our own vending machines where now everybody can put, so there's many different businesses that come along with this. And of course, like I said before, trucking and everything that Hakeem had brought on with that play, we will also want to add that. But for the rest of it, the banking, the private banking, the insurance, the crypto, the NFTs, the metaverse, we'll be able to do things in-house that will be able to change the wealth of every member of what we're trying to build. Now, all of this is circling around these three things, which are your LLCs, your self-directed IRAs, and your trust. And all of these give you asset protection, they give you estate planning, and they give you tax deductions, if not tax exemptions. Based on that, who would be the major competitors? So in the next 5 to 10 years, we should be at the size of a Walmart, Tesla, I would say Microsoft or Amazon, because our product, the ticket price of the product at 375,000, because there's going to be houses that are 3, 4, 5, 6, 10 million. But there'll also be deals that we're picking up that could be 50,000. However, the median, if at 375,000, is a high ticket item, and it's a price point where we don't need to buy that many of them for us to have a large amount of wealth coming in. So with Amazon, we're going to be able to mimic them to create an online store for our members, giving them the lowest price on goods and services for 1 million to 10 million household items used by members from, let's just say, from A to Z, and it could be services too. So from accounting services to Ziploc bags. Tesla, with 10% acquisition rate of total members of the organization, we can actively acquire 1 million properties using solar and battery technology to save on cost. We can put money back into the grid and make money for the company by having the right solar panels in the right places. Apple, physical hardware products that will engage our community, from appliances, kitchenware, furniture, TVs, tablets, and lighting. So having high quality physical products that look good, feel good, and people want to use are what we're going to help design. So when we're buying it in-house at the cheapest price, we're going to be able to sell it at the largest price outside. So there's a profit that can be made. Microsoft, We're going to have our own software and operating systems, program design, the organization. And then, there's going to be things that we do from robotics to NFTs to you name it, that is going to be out there that we can then, once we're using it in-house with our own people, then we can then market out to the rest of the world. Walmart, having the buying power of 1 million consumers, we controlled our food quality, the clothing and hardware and supplies. So we could buy our own farm. We can do sustainable living. There's different things that we can do now that you have access to that type of power, and then you have access to that type of the amount of people that want something like this. So yeah, maybe the shutdown's going to happen and maybe apocalypse is coming, but if we prepare ourselves, then we can be ready for when that happens. And since most of this is in a credit-driven world, we're able to do these things in such a way that we can now compete with the major companies. And blockchain, insurance, and banking, from crypto tokens, utilities, NFTs, and physical banks that we're going to open for merchant accounts to ensure proper payments and high-risk fields by, one, definitely owning an insurance company. Two, having the ability to be our own bank. Three, creating our own real estate crypto or tokens based on the actual value of the real estate that we have. So not only are you going to get benefits from the properties, but as the price of the properties increase and then people want to invest in what we do, we'll be able to create a crypto token that will allow us to build assets like anything else, but in such a way where it's backed by real estate. So it's not just on confidence, it's on physical products, on actual physical assets. So there'll be bonus revenue streams as we go along. Like I said, I went to hedge fund school. So I will be pitching once we get big enough to the largest hedge funds, and they have trillions of dollars like BlackRock. And if I can show BlackRock that we have, 1 million people in the organization and 100,000 people are picking up properties actively, then I can get funding from them. So when you see level 1 at $1,000 to level 20 at 10 billion, have no fear that what I say is I'm telling the same presentation I'm giving you is the same presentation that I'm going to be giving them, because it's the structure on how we're going to buy 1 million properties a year. So I've been doing martial arts for, 40 years now. My program is how to get your black belt in real estate. And so the way it's structured is it's a binary, but it really doesn't matter what it means. It matters that it produces results. So when you get to the top level, you'll have in and around 1,000 members in your organization, like 900 members. But let me show you what that organization will do for you. The way I've designed the compensation plan is unlike I've seen anywhere else. And I've actually brought this to an attorney, and I was in front of 300 other multi-level marketing companies. It was called how to start. It was the multi-level marketing startup, how to start your own multi-level marketing company. So there was about 300 other people that were there. There were 15 mentors that were there that had worked with Herbalife, Shakti, Melaleuca, Home Shopping Network. And I had showed them this business plan, and they had never seen anything like this before. And they asked, how did I think about it? It's because my mother was involved in multi-level marketing. So I was in like 20 of these companies when I was younger. So just being around these compensation plans, I was able to figure out a compensation plan that could benefit everybody greatly. So let's just say this. There you are at the top as white belt, all the way down to black belt. Now, let's just say $200,000 comes in. So in good network marketing companies, they usually pay out up to 50% of the gross profit that comes in. So if 200,000 came in, 100,000 is going to go out to the field. Let's see how the $100,000 is broken down. If you were a white belt and you brought in the deal, you're going to make 10% of the 100,000. What happens is now that 10%, you see the 10,000 on top. What's left over is 90,000, and you see all the way on the right at the top that you receive 10,000. Now, if you are a black belt member, which is the highest level in the group, then and you recruit the white belt. So you see all these lines and there's nothing, 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 nothing. That means there's only 2 people in play on this board. You, who are the black belt at the highest level, and you've just recruited or you brought in a new member with that white belt went out there and did a real estate deal. That real estate deal now comes in and we handle everything for them. And now, and when I say everything for them, we have the title company, we have everything that's set up. Part of the Dade Real Estate Investors Association group I'm part of. which if you check the Wildfire investors, you can see that I'm working with a title company out of Fort Lauderdale, which is not too far from me in Miami, but they work nationwide and they've been around since 1976, working primarily with real estate investors. So they understand every type of real estate investing deal. And since they're local to me here, it makes it easy for me to access them, but they're willing to help us and grow. Anyway, so let's just say you get the 10%, the white belt comes in, they bring a deal in, 10% is made to them. So they make $10,000, 90,000 is left over. Since there is nobody in between you and nobody brought them in, you would make your 30%, take a look at your number next to black belt, that 30% on the bottom, and then you would then times it by what's left over. So if 90,000 is left over, you're going to get 30% of 90,000. Now, if everybody was in place, right? If there was you and every single person in the line. So if you brought in, if you were the black belt and you recruited the red recruited the brown, and it went down each level and you don't know the white belt. Well, in this instance, I want you to use the numbers. That white belt gets 10%. What's left over is 90. The yellow belt that brought in the white belt gets 13% of the 90,000 with what's left over. And he's going to get a check of 12,000. So you minus 12 from 90. Now it's 78,000 left over. On that pot, the green belt will take 15% of the 78,000, giving him a check of $12,000. What's left over is $66,000. Orange belt is going to get 18% of that pot for 66 of the $66,000 for another check of $12,000. What's going to be left over is $54,000. The blue belt who recruited the orange belt, he's at 21%, gets 21% of 54,000. He gets a check of 12,000. 42,000 is left over. The brown belt, he's at 24%, gets 24% of the 42,000. He makes 11,000. Left over is 31,000. The red belt takes 27% of the 31,000 for a check of 10,000. So everybody's making money along the line. And then you, who started the whole thing and brought in everybody in your line, what's left over is 21,000. You're going to make 30% of 21,000 or 7,000. So those are the numbers on the $100,000 net profit in the middle that you see right before the residual net profit on the right of it. The example on the extreme right, where it says white belt 10K, and then it says you black belt 27K, was the example is if you brought in that person directly, there is no one in between you guys. So what happens is he takes 10,000 from the 100,000. What's left over is 90,000. And since there's no one in between and you recruited that person directly, then you would make 30% of 90,000 or a check of 27,000. On higher real estate deals, especially in the South Florida area, there's multi-million-dollar deals all around us. So in this example, if a white belt brought in that same thing, they made, and it was 2 million in net profit. And I can show you guys deals where they're making 3, 4, 5, 6, $10 million in real estate deals. And this is just residential. Doesn't mean that we can't do commercial also. So on 100,000, 900,000 is left over. And let's just say the blue belt, let's say there's 2 people in this, 3 people in this equation. You recruited the blue belt, and that blue belt recruited the white belt. So there's only 3 of you once again in this equation. 100,000 goes to the white belt, 900,000 is left over. The blue belt at 21%, since there's no one in between, gets 21% of 900,000 or a check of 189. What's left over is 711,000. If there's no one in between you guys, then you as the black belt would get 30% of the 711,000, which would be a check of 213,000. Same numbers. If there was everybody who was getting a piece of it on $1 million, you can see how everybody's getting 100, 117, 118, 120, 115, 104, 88, and 71,000. If there was no one in between you guys, then on the right, it's 100,000. And then you would take 30% of 900,000, which would be a check of 270,000. Team leader bonuses. There's going to be net profit qualifiers, team production payouts, marketing budgets, company car programs, and a company expense account. Now, I'm going to war, and the company expense account that we're going to have is so you can go after the top multi-level marketers in your area. So you know, and you can go after them with gifts. You can go after them with, if you want to see them personally, but it's COVID. No one really wants to do that. You could send them a car. It doesn't really make a difference. However, you can entice or get someone in, you'll have a company expense account that you can write that off. So you can basically bribe someone to come from their multi-level marketing company to our multi-level marketing company, because it's going to be 10 times better. So on these, not only are you going to have a company expense account, but you're going to have a marketing budget. And why would you have a marketing budget? Because if I place ads behind you, you'll always be bringing in new people. And the way I have the system designed, which I'll show you in a minute, is on autopilot, where now the ads can run to an automation system, and the automation system can take care of most of it. And then if you had a VA, then the VA will then take care of, you know, any of the personal questions that need to be answered. But between a production payout, net profit qualifier, and the car company program, so when you hit a couple of the different levels, you may hit blue belt and brown belt in 1 year, and then you're going to get, back in the day when I first was doing this, was like 8 years ago, Hummers were big. So a Hummer, you can get a Benz, you qualify for a Bentley and a Ferrari. I mean, you may rock in 1 year and get 4 cars, or take the cash, which is of course your choice. So that's about $1.8, $2 million worth of benefits for each member as we go along, because there's so much money to be made in what we're doing. And then team-based credit, opening 6 new team LLCs with 5 openings for maximum funding. So what does that mean? That means that in the company, we want to have corporate officers make 5 to 10%. So people with good credit can start making money just building credit, because we're going to use that credit to go buy real estate. So we need 5 positions in every company: president, vice president, the CEO, the CFO or treasurer, the COO, or it's his chief operating officer, or the secretary. And then what are they going to do? They're going to liquidate cash from the credit. So if they get access to $10,000 to $500,000 per LLC, let's just say, I know we want to open up 10 LLCs, but I couldn't fit 10 right here. So for easy purposes, let's just use 5. So with 5 LLCs that we open up, that we can get credit from each of them, if he can get access to 10,000 to 500,000, then that would be access to 50,000 to 2.5 million in business lines of credit. We're not even talking trust credit, just business lines of credit. So with 5 LLCs, you have access to 250 to $2.5 million, because then each one, if it has 50 to 500, then it's going to be 50 to 2.5 million. So you add those up, each person in total business lines of credit. Now, what we want to do is then we want to open up what's called our super LLCs, okay? And let's just say if you don't have 2.5 million, but you're a little higher, let's just say everyone acquires out of those 5 LLCs, 200,000 per LLC, you have access to like $1 million. Let's use easy numbers. So on $1 million per corporate officer, now there's 5 officers, we're going to raise $5 million from their previous corporations, which we're going to use the manufactured spending to tap into or liquidate the cards to now get access to the capital and put it in bank accounts. And then, so liquidating that, now the president, vice president, CFO, COO, and the secretary all have $1 million. So now we have 5 million. What are we going to do with that? Well, we're going to do what I did just recently, going to the banks. We're going to go to 5 banks. We're going to call those banks Bank A, B, C, D, and E. And we're going to deposit $1 million in each one of those banks that we got from the credit. So 5 million total. Now we're going to combine the cash from these 5 corps. So now that we combine the cash from them, I'm going to show you what we can do. So remember, on the left, LLC 1, we have $1 million, right? What they usually going to do when we have 5 people with good credit and $1 million that we deposit in that bank, LLC 1 bank, and these are different banks and different LLCs. So now with bank number 1, we put the $1 million in. They're going to give us lines of credit, and we can get loans or business lines of credit or business loans, let's say for half of that. So let's call it a $500,000. So now we have 1.5 million. So the top number, the dark or the green, dark green is what we start with. The red number is what they let us borrow. The blue number is the accumulation of both of them. The green number is what we have left after we write a check to put that money to move into the next account. So what we're going to do is now we have 1.5 million. We're going to take 1 million from that 1.5 million, and we're going to move it into LLC 2. Now we've got a loan from them or lines of credit out for half a million. And now we left $500,000 in the account, and we moved 1 million over to LLC 2. Now we have 2 million in there. If they give us the same thing at 50%, then they're going to lend us $1 million. Now we're going to have access to 3 million in LLC 2 and bank B. We're going to remove 2 million from there. There's going to be 1 million left in LLC 2. We're going to take that 2 million and we're going to move it to LLC 3. Now we're going to have 3 million in there from the original 1 million we had plus 2 million. They'll give us half of the money. So that means now in blue, we're going to have 4.5 million from the roundup of one, depositing money into these banks and then getting lines of credit on having good credit and assets in the bank. So they're like, wow, you guys have perfect credit and you have money. We want to lend you money. We're going to remove 3 million from the 4.5, leaving us 1.5 million in that account. And we're going to take that 3 million and put it into LLC number 4. We're going to get 2 million in funding. Now we're going to have 6 million total. We're going to remove 5 million and we're going to leave 1 million in that one and move that 5 million over to LLC 5. We're going to have $6 million with the original 5 plus the 1 we had to open it. Then they're going to lend us half once again, which is 3 million. We'll have 9 million total. We're going to write another check for 8 million to LLC 6. LLC 6 will now have the original 1 million we put in plus the 8 million will be 9 million. And then we'll get loans on that once again in credit for half of that. That'll give us 13.5 million. So what we're going to do is then we're going to recycle that all over again. We're going to take 12.5 million and move it into company 1. So in case you want to see what that looks like, we're just going to repeat the rounds. So we'll have 13 million in cash that we've just drummed up without having to do any trucking, without having to do any real estate, without having to do anything complicated, and just moving money, having great credit with these officers. And in each position, they change in each company. So who's ever the president, they're the vice president in company number 2. Whoever the vice president in company number 2 is the treasurer in company number 3, vice versa. So we combine that credit once again, and we start ratcheting up so we can get to the $100 million projects for commercial real estate. So if we take LLC 1 again, and we move that 12.5 million, pay off the previous loan that we had, and now we have 12.5 available to us. Let's just say they only lend us 5 million on this. I'm making the numbers easy. Now we have access to 17.5 million. We move that 15 million of that to company number 2. And then we keep ratcheting it down, as you can see, so we can get up to $75 million, $50 million worth of assets. Because once we start moving money in there and with great credit, once again, we can always, 1, pay off all the previous loans and ask for increases in the credit. Why would we want to do that? Because now we have access to $100 million projects. If you've seen what Grant Cardone recently did, he bought a $750 million projects, 3 buildings in Fort Lauderdale. So having a $100 million project is definitely not out of the question. So with something like this, how can we get our project moving? Well, by having that type of money or access to that type of money, and we don't even need the 100 million. We only need like between 30, 40, or 50 million. But let's take a look at it. We can leverage money from either the bank, private, or hard money lenders on a $100 million project by only having 30% down and 70% given to us by the lender. So that means we'd only need to have 30 million down and 70 million would be lent to us by the lender if maybe that's our first banking relationship, or, you know, that's the criteria that they want to do. However, there are banks out there that might give us a 20% down. It should say 2080 instead of 2070, guys. Yeah. So on that, we'd have to put 20 million down and the lender would lend us 80 million. And then there are some banks out there that would do a 10% down. And on a $100 million project, we'd only need to put $10 million down while they'd put up 90 million of the dollars. So the good thing about something like this is having the credit to pull the plug on large commercial real estate deals, especially the ones that are coming due because of COVID and the foreclosure apocalypse that has hit and all those businesses closed. So combined capital from 6 corporations will allow us to put $50 to $100 million together so we can go ahead and start looking at vast real estate deals that we can pick up at a discount because of either motivated sellers, foreclosures, bankruptcies, or any of the problems that go along with solving it. And it could be as simple as it needs repairs and they can't repair the property. For self-directed IRAs, one of the companies that we use, and what a self-directed IRA is it helps you do tax deferred or tax-free benefits. So one of the companies that is big out there, it's called Equity Trust. Equity Trust is sold over bought and sold over 200,000 properties that have been funded by a self-directed IRA. So if you have a stock, bond, mutual fund, 401k, or money market, or something out there that is underperforming, a lot of what these people do, but especially 401ks and pension funds, they moved their pension fund and their 401k into a custodian like this, where now they have checkbook control. So instead of somebody who is in charge of your investments, you're in charge of your investments by putting your 401k into this equity trust. And then equity trust now gives you a checkbook, and then you can go out there and you can invest in businesses. You can get precious metals like gold and silver. Once again, you can, as long as you stay separate from the business, like you just funded it, then bam, there's no problem with it. And then that money can grow tax deferred or tax free. Who's working with me? I have one of my great friends. His name is Ovid Val. He's part of the legal team. And a major part of this was making sure that all the laws are correct and everything's right. And he's a foreclosure defense, but I call him an offense attorney because we've sued banks many times and we've stopped foreclosures. So there's a great many things that he offers and brings to the table. Of course, there's me. And then what I'm now understand implicitly is building a team. So if we want to compete and have a $1 trillion company, which we completely can, and have our own, and it's not Black owned, it's because Black is not a nationality, and without having a nationality or a state, then that's how we lose all our benefits. So having a minority owned business like this, where everybody could participate and there's a chance for everybody to become wealthy because it's real estate, is what is so enticing and powerful. So, if you're interested, I'd love to welcome you into becoming a Wildfire member and putting together a plan where we can build unlimited credit. And the whole point is building credit in such a way that everybody comes through. And what Hakeem had shared with us, it's like Jalen said, you hear all this stuff, but you don't implement it. Well, we could implement it, and with more and more people coming through and more people making the type of income that they could with distressed real estate, then what we're looking at is a powerhouse. And then beyond that, FYI, I had put together a nonprofit, and that nonprofit I had created because it's 1.57 trillion in student loan debt. So I had opened up a nonprofit probably like 5 years ago or 6 years ago, and I had 6,000 students apply. And then in that I had put together like a monopoly thing where we can help each student from creating Airbnb rentals near them, mobile phones, everything that we've talked about before. I was working with a group of students, and we had like a nonprofit house and did everything else. The cost, I'm trying to make it extremely affordable so everybody can get in and we could, move forward and build something together. And I am making it the same thing as Hakeem did, like $1,500. It should be reasonable for us to get together and brainstorm. But the true purpose of what we're really trying to do is build a group of people who get access to $1 million to $5 million that we can use to creatively buy real estate and to also get involved into all the other programs, whether it's government contracts, whether it's buying the trucks, getting the Turo business. It's just having the assets and being able to deploy them and having the right people that are business minded that want to deploy them. And then there's the other people who have the good credit that aren't going to do anything with their credit. So that's where the credit repair company comes in, where if we help enough people fix their credit, then we can show them how we can pay their bills on passive incomes by using their credit to open up these 10 corporations to get the capital to then buy assets, which will then in turn, if we opened up a trust for them, make them the beneficiary of the trust, and then they can receive those benefits for a lifetime. And I'd like everybody to keep in mind that this is a limited open enrollment. What we're going to be doing is once we get the certain amount of people that are going to come in, probably we're going to cap it at the first 100 people. We are going to definitely increase the price to what it's normally supposed to be, which is around should be around $5,000 to actually be part of the team members and be part of this. But right now, at this introductory price, this would be an amazing time for anyone who's interested in finding about real estate, getting business lines of credit, potentially getting a trust and getting trust credit. all these things that can be part of what it is. This is the entry fee into a new world of financial success and power. So we want you to join the team. Hopefully, this information was incredibly helpful to you, and you see what we see, and we want you to be as successful as you want to be. So, by joining us and becoming part of our team, we become a family, and we look forward to going forward and having success together. So, join the team, get involved. You'll be donating $1,500. And just like anything else, I'm protecting all the assets and I put everything in a trust. And in this trust, just so you know, when you come on board, it's a mastermind that we're really forming. And with that mastermind and your donation, we will get to where we're supposed to go, which is to the top together as a team. Thanks for being part of this webinar and listening to this live event. And we look forward to having you on the team. So, talk to you on the other side and have a great day.